Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be talking about the 12 laws of the universe. It is so cool that there's literally laws that we can, I don't want to say like you're going to jail law, not by that, but like a set of extreme guidelines that if we follow these guidelines, we get into flow and peace so much easier. The 12 universal laws. Now, we've talked about one of the laws quite often. That is the law of vibration. That's law number 2. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Before we jump into all of this, I would like to remind anyone and everyone who's watching this now live or going to catch it on the replay. My name is Donald Groves. I'm the owner of 86 Worries. I'm an awakening coach. And what that means is going from the state of surviving to thriving. That means taking control of our thoughts, taking control of our mind, which then takes control of the emotions. And when we have control of our thoughts, our mind, and emotions, then we can start moving into a causality of life instead of effect. Get into a thriving life instead of surviving. Constantly starting that cycle over and over again. That's what 86 Worries is all about. So if at any point in your healing journey, you get to a point where you've plateaued, or you're confused about what's going on, please contact me. I would be more than happy. I also give the first 30 minutes. It's on me. So whatever you need, it's on me, and we'll take care of that. So just touch base. My Instagram is at 86 Worries Official. And I'll give you a little heads up too. If you go to my Instagram and you follow my Instagram, let's look at the rules. Because I am a human design coach. I guess you say I would do your graph and then we would coach through it. So what I've been offering is if you follow the 4 steps, I have it in the bio on this. Check out the 4 steps, fill out, go that, and then I'll put you into a drawing to win the chance of getting a human design chart done. It's pretty amazing. Knowing yourself on a more intimate level is one of the fastest ways to get into a thriving path. It really is. But check me out, 86worries.com. That's my websites. Check me out on my email, coach@86worries.com. And yeah, like I said, if you're stuck anywhere on your journey, hit me up. So let's go and get started with 12 laws, 12 universal laws. Law 1. Now I'm going to have some notes with me, just to let you know. Law 1 is the law of divine oneness. The law of divine oneness is the first law of the universal laws. Everyone and everything is connected in the world we live in. Every thought, word, action of ours will take effect on others, as everything and everyone is connected to each other subconsciously, unconsciously. We should start thinking about the good in others, and then they will think about you in a way. So I actually tell my clients this all the time, family and friends. So if you really want someone to act differently around you, we have to start seeing them differently. So if you have a family member or whatever that is not the best human being, not bringing the best to it, what we can do then is we can start seeing this human being in another way. We can start seeing this human being as their best version. And funny enough, if you continue to do that over and over again, and this is the law of oneness in play right now, is when you start seeing that person in the way that you want more and more, they'll bring that to you. If you stop attacking that idea of who they are in your mind and let it go, then they'll start coming to you as the way that you expect to see them. And that's one of the ways to really look at the first law is the law of oneness. We are all one on a subconscious level. That's why I try to teach. I don't try anything. This is why I teach specific meditations that take us into a hemi-sync mindset. Hemi-sync mindset is when we have the right and left side working together. When we have the right side and the left side working together of the brain, we then go into a hemi-sync mindset. And when we're in hemi-sync, we are connected to anyone else who has reached that specific brain set, the brainwave, that connection of the right and left. A fun little story that we can go along with this is on a physical level that we are all one is the story about iron and how iron is created. So on the physical level, knowing that we are all one, there's only 3 ways that we can create iron in this universe. The first way is a supernova exploding, and then over a long period of time, the gases create, and then over a period of time, iron is created. The second way iron is created in this universe is 2 planets crashing into one another, and then same process, gas over a long period of time, and then iron is formed. The third and final way that iron is created is through a baby's heart, or a human's heart. So when a baby's formed, there's a tiny piece of iron in the center of the baby's heart that's created, and it controls the oxygen flow going to the body. But every single human being that exists has this piece, unless there's some form that out there. But that's on a physical level of oneness. The law of oneness of the first law is going into how our subconsciouses are all connected. So if you want to, and this is how we are able to project into the future, time pierced. And so if you want a job interview to go a specific way, then we see that job interview going a specific way. If you want your family member to act a certain way, we start seeing them a certain way. So that's the first law. The second law is the law of energy, or the law of vibration. My favorite law of all of them because of the work needed done to heal and to let go. The law of vibration states that whatever frequency that we think, whatever frequency we act, whatever we eat, whatever we ingest into our life, mind, body, and soul, we bring that vibrations into our own body. And then with these vibrations, we put out to the universe. And with that being said, the law of vibration also brings back to us the same. But we talk about the law of vibration all the time. Next is the law of action. The third law of the universal laws is the law of action. Each action would provide with a different result, which is mostly based on thoughts, words, dreams, or emotions. We must select our action that solely supports our thoughts, words, dreams, and emotions, which will help accomplish your goal. So avoiding a problem will never work. By taking small actions is a sufficient way to solve this problem. So let's look at it another way. The way of making decisions. So this is extremely important. This is why making a decision to decide. So side, C-I-D-E, homicide, suicide, decide. To side is to make an action that ends another form. So when we make a decision, we can now put it into action. The universe can't do anything for us. No action can take place, manifesting or anything, until we decide. And this is for anything in our lives. Just deciding to go to the beach, deciding to do something in your life that is going to change you in one way or another. Once we decide, then action can start to process. So it's very important that we start learning to have our boundaries, start learning to make decisions and have faith in who we are as decisions. Law 4. The law of correspondence. The law states that we are in control of our life. Every action we make will be reflected in our outer world to our inner world. So let me get to my notes. So with that being said, so after we take action, it is then reflected in our inner and outer world. Think of it like this. Look at your house. The action that we take within our own inner world. So if your house is extremely messy, that means more likely your thoughts and your mind is very unorganized and very messy. You don't have control over your thoughts. So with correspondence, when we start corresponding with the actions that we want to take and we start believing in it, we can start giving that more life, more energy. So for instance, right, going into that, law 5. Oh, we're moving quite along here. The law of cause and effect. So cause and effect, honestly, for me, especially being a universal law, I see this as a 2-parter. Now, the research I've done over the years about cause and effect, it goes like this. Nothing ever happens by chance. It is each of our actions that create a reaction that is followed after. Every action will have a reaction. According to Newton's 3rd law, there will be an equal and opposite reaction force, physically, verbally, mentally. Every statement made will be followed with a comment or a reply. Thus, a perfect example of action and reaction. However, for me, when working with clients, generally take the effect side of life. So cause and effect on a healing level. And this is what I think the universe is talking about more, is getting out of effect. And maybe they can coincide with each other, but with every action having a reaction, when we start taking control of our life, so cause and effect, we're realizing that we are in charge of our life. We are the ones that cause our life to happen. Now, when we begin to live extremely unconsciously in our life, and we just go with the program, and we're just living in the program, then what happens is we are living in effect. We are allowing life to push us around. So the fifth law of the universe, how it was understood, is that every action has a reaction. I think it also has a lot to do with everything in our life. Our thoughts, actions, emotions will then either put us into cause or put us into effect. The sixth law, the law of compensation. This comes after the law of cause and effect, when blessing has come into our lives through various forms, such as gifts, money, friendship, and so forth. You get what you give. It can either be money, it could either be karma, it could be friendships. So this is important because we look at everything in a monetary value. Not everyone, but for instance, hi Monica, how are you doing? For instance, as we watch someone doing a task, we're taking in that energy. Giving with the homeless, the monetary value. How can I help you gives me how can I be helped? Until we get into the reality of when we start giving, as long as we don't shut ourselves down for receiving. What I mean is, so a lot of my clients, they believe, especially being codependent, that they have to keep giving and giving and giving and never allowing themselves to receive. So the law of compensation is stating that everything is a balanced set. When you give, you receive. When you receive, you give. And this process is continuous. And then also goes into our karma. That moment, so I have a karmic debt, I believe, and it might sound completely silly, but many, many moons ago, I was running a shop downtown Charleston. And as I'm closing up, locking up for the day, a older woman comes up to me asking to use the bathroom, seeming desperate. I don't want to say desperate, but you could tell that she really had to go. And in that moment, I could have chosen to unlock the door and to help and to go in and use the bathroom. However, with law of compensation and being shut off and not being helpful for anybody, this was years ago, I said no to her, that I was running behind to get my children, but there's no excuse. In that moment right there, I could have chose to allow her, and to this day, I still think about that moment. To this day, I still think about how I should have. And this, I don't know if I'm going into a guilt mindset. That's not the plan. But with the law of compensation, it states that giving is receiving, and karma is it too. And I think about this incident because of the karma, and that's why. Let's move on to the next law. Law of attraction. That sneaky little law. It is so misunderstood in a lot of ways, but when you do get it and you do understand the law of attraction, it just clicks. It really does. There's a concept that people believe that if I only think positive and I only do these things in my life that will bring me to a vibration of getting exactly what I want in the law of attraction, it gets muddy, because here's the thing. There's two types of vibrations. For law number 2 is the law of vibration. There's two types. You have temporary and you have your habitual. So if your habitual vibration is set at a lower dial, because we never looked at negative thoughts, we just ignored it because we want to attract exactly what we want. We got to stay positive. We have to stay doing this. We can't think negative thoughts whatsoever, or we're not going to get what we want. Then our temporary vibration will only stay temporarily high for a certain amount of time. So what we want to do is we want to really attract what we want in our life. We have to get our habitual vibration higher. Our vibrational thermostat, we need to set it at a higher dial. Until we do that, the law of attraction will only be partially done. Now, there are a few steps that we can take in the law of attraction. We have to remember what you pay attention to pays attention to you. Now, we have to also remember that when we want something and we go after something, that really creates this big void of lack, to not have. And the universe, aka your unconscious mind, it really has no idea what's real or fake, what's real or a lie. All it knows is what the story we consciously tell the unconscious mind. So the story that we're telling our unconscious mind is believing it. So in the law of attraction, it states that if you keep yourself, your people, and your events and your thoughts, all of it into a positive area, you'll attract more positivity in your life. And that's what the law of attraction states. Here's the thing, it's if we do the shadow work and we do the negative and we look at our habitual or vibrational thermostat, then yes, that is fact. And then because then we're thinking our positive thoughts. So, but to attract, first we have to know what we want. We have to stop saying what we don't want and only say what we want. And this is Abraham Hicks' work, by the way. 2, you have to know what you want. So we already got that. You have to literally see yourself having it. And then after seeing yourself having it, letting it go. Letting it go. Letting it go like you have it. And then stop scratching the wound. Remember, the more you scratch at something, the less that it's going to be taken care of. So your thoughts are no different than a boo-boo. So if you keep scratching that boo-boo, what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. In fact, it'll probably fester and get gross. The same is for your thoughts. The same is for attracting what you want. So the more you poke at your dreams, your desires, and there's nothing wrong with dreams. I'm just saying the more that you think you don't have it, the more that you want it is the less that you have. So once you work with the law of vibration, then we can really attract what we want. Pay attention to what you want because that pays attention to you. And don't stop. Law number 9, law of relativity. In order for us to develop, we have to go through a series of problems while remaining connected to our hearts. This law also teaches us to compare our problems to others' problems. No matter how difficult a situation might be, there is always someone else in a worse position. So, law of relativity basically is stating, this is a really good story, is, I'm sure everyone has heard this. There's a guy driving down the road and he sees these really, really nice cars that he's not driving. And this guy or girl, he wants that. He's like, I wish I had a nicer vehicle than what I have. And then it goes to the next person who is driving a less nice car than this car, and the person's complaining about they wish they had a nicer car that had air conditioning. That I really want this air conditioning to be working. You know what I mean? I wish I had a nicer thing. Then it goes to the person who's riding a bike, like, ugh, I wish I had a car. I wish I had a car to drive because riding this bike sucks, and I wish I had a car. Then it goes to the person who's walking. I wish I had a bicycle. I wish I had a car. So I'm tired of walking. And then it goes to the next. And then it's the person who doesn't have legs and so forth. So it's all relative in our own life because the most important part is gratefulness. But with the law of relativity, what it states is that things can always be worse than what's already happening. So find a way to be grateful for what you have. We get stuck into the mindset of thinking that it can't be any worse than what's happening to me. No one else could be going through what I'm going through in my life. And when we get into that mindset, we get into an unbalanced mindset. So law of relativity is such as that. Find gratefulness, and that law will become your best friend. Law of polarity. The law states that everything has an opposite polarity. Good, bad, right, wrong, so forth and so on. Change unwanted thought by thinking on the opposite pole. And so what I talk about this in my coaching class is changing your perspective. We want to change our perspective, don't we? When we're stuck into a mindset that, oh, I'm just being so negative right now. I'm just being such a blah, 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 blah. Gotta shift that perspective. Gratefulness is a really fast way of shifting that perspective. However, what's really cool about the law of polarity, especially for everyone who are healers that are watching this, especially for anyone who is in the business of spirituality who's watching this, anybody who has worked with doing Reiki, any healing whatsoever, this law is actually more apparent in your life than you realize, the law of polarity. Because here's a little fun fact for you. To gain inner peace, to gain nirvana, to be a true healer, a true coach, a true doctor, we must know what it's like to be broken inside. And so the law of polarity has taken effect, because most everyone I talk to in my field who does what they do are amazing what they do. But we all agree on one thing. At one point or another, we went through a period of being broken, completely shattered inside, putting the pieces back together of how we're going to exist. How am I going to teach others to stay away from the path I've walked? Well, Monica, thank you for responding, by the way. And Simone, hi, how are you doing? So you're right. It's not easy to focus on the wish because unconscious, you can't easily control it. Not at first. And that's what a good thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I work on with SOULVOLUTIon. That's what I work on as a coach. I work on, so with the law of attraction specifically, what we're going into here, I'm assuming, is taking control of the subconscious loop, taking control of the unconscious loop. And so in my program, I do NLP training as well. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. What we do is we take specific thoughts, actions, emotions, and we reframe them. We anchor in new ones. We bring in new stuff so that we can we heal the past stuff, and then we move forward to have an understanding of our unconscious mind. When we take control of what we're telling our unconscious and subconscious, when we take control of that, then we can start attracting the law of attraction. We can start bringing into our life exactly what we want. And so after a period of time, it gets easier and easier to work on our unconscious mind. It gets easier to start attracting what we want because we've done the work of letting go of our fears. We've done the work of letting go of our limiting beliefs. Limiting belief is just something that states like, I can't do this, I can't have this. It's just a loop, unconscious loop of what we've talked about and taught ourselves how to speak, usually from our parents. Thank you for putting that in there, though. I'm very grateful. If you have any questions for that, hit me up, please. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. So law of polarity, back to law number 10, the 10th law, universal law, is the law of polarity. The law of polarity states that if there's good, then there's going to be bad. Something great's happening, something negative is going to happen. But let's take it not so instantly like that, but everything has a cycle. Everything is a cycle in the universe. In fact, you have the 9-year cycle in numerology. If you add your birth date up, here's a little gem for you. So take your birth date. So like, I'll use mine, July 28th. So 7/28, 8, 9, 10, 17. Plus this current year, so 7/28, 2021 adds up to 22. Numerology, you're supposed to go down to a single number. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So this year it's the number 4, about foundation. So my life and the cycle that it is, and the universal cycle, is the 4 corners: building, support, family, friends, This is the year of support. What I'm getting into is the law of polarity is there is a cycle. During this cycle of our life, we'll go through periods of extreme wealth and what we're used to. We'll go through periods of hardships. We'll go through periods of ease. We'll go through periods of love, lack of love, self-reflection. And in these periods, that's how the polarity goes, because when you have one, the universe has to have balance. If we don't have balance, then we have chaos. And the earth, you have to admit, the universe is chaotically organized beautifully. So with the law of polarity, just be aware of when you get extreme highs, then extreme lows will come as well. The goal is to find that inner peace and staying in a middle place because of the law of polarity. If you stay balanced, then balanced, and balanced, and balanced. And so I like to say anyone who gets this law are healers, mainly healers, doctors and healers, because anybody who has ever achieved inner peace also achieved horrific breaking inside. It's just like, oh, okay. Well, you don't, Monica, I don't know about needing to improve, but like when we start catching our unconscious thoughts and we really pay attention to what we unconsciously and consciously tell ourselves, then we can start switching the message up. And this is the beautiful part. So what I mean by the law of vibration, before we can attract, we have to have our vibration higher. So like when we do the law of attraction, everybody is on board about manifesting and attracting, and the law of attraction and the law, everyone is on the tizzy about it. But here's the thing. People don't tell you about what the law of attraction is. In human design, there are two types of manifestors that exist in this world. Two types. Not everyone really knows that. So everyone thinks that the vision board and doing the vision board and having that set up and ready to go, that's the way to manifest. And that is how everyone does it on YouTube. And that's how everyone does it. Your friend's like, what do you put it on your vision board? Vision board party. Well, not everybody is a specific manifestor. And that's what it's called in human design, is a specific manifestor. There's another form, and that's what I am, is general manifestor, meaning that when we manifest, we can't see exactly what we want. We actually have to feel what we want, understand what we want, a general idea, but we can't have the specific details of how we're going to get it, when we're going to get it, what it's going to be. The universe fills that in for us if you're a general manifestor. So if you're watching this live or watching the replay, has a vision board worked for you? Has it worked, you being extremely specific with your manifestation, with your law of attraction? Has it been working? Or has it not seemed exactly accurate because you're being maybe too specific? If so, let me know, because I have a lot of different ways that we can manifest general, because I'm a general manifestor, not being specific. So that's the law number 10, 10 of polarity. We're really moving right along. Law number 11, law of rhythm. All energy vibrates at a certain speed and rhythm. Everything has a cycle and stage of development. The only way to master rhythm is by facing the negative part of each cycle. So we were just talking about cycles. So even the best athletes fall sooner or later. Instead of seeing yourself getting weaker, seeing this as a sign for us to take rest in our life. Facing the negative part of each cycle that will allow you to master that rhythm. So this corresponds with all the other laws beautifully, especially the law of attraction, the law of rhythm. So when you want something in your life, we get our frequency and our vibration to the same rhythm as what we want. So money, if you're trying to attract money in your life, that vibration is a very high vibration. And it's energy. And that's all money is energy. Hello, Anna. And so with this energy, we are able to attract that rhythm into our life. But so what we're talking about is the cycle of our lives. So I like to lift weights and I like to exercise quite often. But I'll go through stages where my body's starting to hurt a lot. That's a stage in the cycle. The cycle has started for me to chill out on my body. That's why I was using athletes as an idea that sooner or later you will fall. Sooner or later you're going to have to work with that stage of your life, that now you're not in that same athletic stance. You are in a cycle of your life now. Usually around 50 with our Saturn returns, things really shift in our life. Mentally, physically, depending on how well we stay on top of our vibrational output, this vessel. How well do we take care of this vessel? So with the law of rhythm, it is respecting the cycle, respecting the energy, respecting that there is going to be that polarity of events. Some individuals, it's funny how the beginning of our life is really, 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 really super freaking hard, right? But polarity, law of polarity simply states that's why usually life gets better throughout the years because of that. Oh, that was good. So, law number 12, the law of gender. And this is a super important one because this is going on in the world. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about gender and gender confusion, gender changing, this and that. There is, according to the law, everything has a masculine, which is yang, and everything has a feminine, which is yin. And these are principles. Each individual should balance between the masculine and feminine energies to become a master. Example, everything contains masculine and feminine elements. Within masculine qualities of energy are logic, intellect, whereas feminine qualities are love, patience, gentleness. I think we could all agree on that. There must be a balance between both masculine and feminine. Without feminine, masculine would tend to act without restraint. And without masculine, there will be a failure to do anything. Both feminine and masculine are dependent of each other. So this is going to go out towards my parents or single parents, especially single parents as well, too. Here's the thing. Like, when I became a single parent and I shared custody with the mom, I had to then start incorporating more feminine into my life. I had to be, I didn't have to be, I chose to be. And when this happened, a major shift happened in my life when I started incorporating both masculine and feminine. It was truly amazing to begin to experience it. At first, I wasn't sure. And at first, I was like, I don't know if this would be capable. But then you start understanding that your children respond so much better to both the masculine and both the feminine being used. It really is just mind-blowing when I began to start incorporating both masculine and feminine energy into that. When we start to understand that our chakras, I'm sure most of us watching live or watching this replay are big into understanding what Reiki and chakra system is. So when we begin to understand that, so like our solar plexus is the I do, that's masculine, that's fire. The question is, as a parent, as a man especially, how in touch with my sacral am I, my feminine? How in touch with my emotions am I? And so when I started activating more feminine energies to get work done as a parent, it started opening certain areas that I wasn't aware of that needed to be healed. And by the law of gender, and so what I believe it's talking about is when we start understanding that masculine and feminine are of equal force within all of us and all creatures. Look at the planets too. You can definitely tell that Earth is a lady. Earth is a feminine energy. Mars, definitely a male energy all the way. And so forth and so on. The different planets bring us different energies. Male and female plants. Male, female. It's just the balance of it all. And I believe that's what these laws really come down to, is creating balance in existence. Bringing balance and understanding that without these laws, it probably wouldn't exist. It would be some chaotic mess. So if today's show was absolutely awesome for you, which I'm pretty sure it was, and if any of this is confusing to you or you want to know more about it, please contact me. I put all my information into the bio and also the beginning of the video. If you would like to grow more, if you are ignoring your negative thoughts and you don't understand how to create a more positive thinking, if you're not sure with what these 12 laws are really about, then contact me. Let's see what's going on and let's move past it. Also, if you want to win the chance for your human design chart to be read, please. There's 4 steps. There's 4 ways to get your human design, a chance for your human design chart to be read. I'm absolutely grateful for you coming to the show today, whether it was live or if it was replay. I'm so grateful. I love each and every one of you, and I have faith that healing and letting go is in your life. Growth. Going from survival to thriving. Remember, you are perfectly right where you are in your life. Not too far ahead, you're not too far behind. You're right where you are. So just do your best and 86 the rest. Thank you so much. Namaste.